We are back on the Michael Koolidge Show, and you've been hearing from a lot of the candidates running for office here in the Midwest. We have a U.S. Senate primary, of course, coming up. A lot of the candidates for the Republican primary have come in studio. Some of the Republican candidates for Congress in the 14th Congressional District have come in studio as well, and one of them is here with us right now. Anthony Catella, candidate for Republican nominee for Congress 14th District. Welcome on to the Michael Koolidge Show.
Well, thank you, Mike. Nice to be here. Appreciate it.
Yes, we're so thrilled you were able to make it out here. I know Rochelle is a little bit outside of the 14th Congressional District, but we reach a lot of it. A lot of our listeners were very big fans of Congressman Randy Holtgren. That was kind of a shock when he lost to this Lauren Underwood, and this is definitely a right-of-center district. President Trump won it, I know. This is a district that can be picked up. And so I'll ask you the first question I ask all candidates. Why did you decide to throw your hat into the ring and run for Congress in the 14th Congressional District?
Well, Mike, I decided, actually it was on election night in 2018 when it became apparent that Mr. Holtgren was not going to be reelected. I thought to myself, well, why not me? Let's give it a try, because I've always had the desire to be in public office, to run and to be in public office. And so I decided, let's give it a go.
And here you are. You've been out on the campaign trail. You've got a lot of opponents in the primary, and we've heard from, I think, about all of them. I think you're the last one we needed to chat with.
I'm happy to be here then.
Yeah, we're thrilled. You brought us a little doohickey of the great Calvin Coolidge.
That's right.
One of the most underrated presidents we've ever had. Yeah. No relation, spelled with a C.
Right on.
Still a great guy nonetheless.
Yes, you know, if I might say, his portrait hung in the cabinet room during Reagan's presidency. Reagan put his portrait above the fireplace there, and Calvin Coolidge was the first president to have his inaugural address transmitted over the airwaves while delivered.
That's amazing. I mean, we have the State of the Union address, of course, tonight. And, Calvin Coolidge, the dawn of radio on a massive scale, exactly. Broadcasting throughout the whole country.
And he was born on the 4th of July, 1872, so 98 years before I was born. And I often think, he's not my hero.
Is your birthday the 4th of July?
No, I wish it was. The 8th of March. But I'm saying 1872 to 1970, 98
gotcha. Years.
Now, Coolidge is not my hero, but, I mean, he's a cool guy, I think. And I just think it's interesting that I'm almost 100 years apart from him. And if I was him, I'd be 47 years old and governor of Massachusetts.
That's what he was at this point in his life.
Right, and just about ready to be the vice presidential nominee of the Republican Party, and within 3 years, president.
Yes,
Amazing.
Silent Cow, as they called him.
Anyways, yeah.
But Anthony Catella, also spelled with a C. Tell listeners who might be voting in the Republican primary a little bit about you, your background. Sure. You're a military veteran as well, I know. Tell your story to our listeners.
Of course. Yes, well, as I say, I'm a military veteran, proud to say. I was born March 8th, 1970. In St. Charles, Illinois, and I grew up in St. Charles all my life, which is in Kane County in the district of 14th District. And I remember Congressman John Grotberg, and I remember going to the, at that time, later on in August of 1988, when I was in high school, I was a Boys State delegate, sponsored by my American Legion Post 342 in St. Charles, Illinois, of which I'm now proud member. And I will remember going to the field office of then Congressman Denny Hastert, and I got a nice letter back from him acknowledging that I had been to the field office and that he appreciated what I was doing. And I always remember he commended me for my proud patriotism, and I still have the letter to this day. And that was back in the day when I'd write to congressmen and senators, mostly senators, and they'd actually respond, even if they weren't from my state. I never get that anymore.
What do you see as the big issues facing the voters and constituents in the 14th Congressional District of Illinois?
Well, I would say the biggest would be that of income taxes, particularly property taxes, also at a local level. And I know property taxes go for the funding of the public schools, but people are very concerned about how high they've been getting. And so I always get that. And then, of course, well, that's the biggest economic issue. Then, of course, our border security, our military strength, and economic strength go hand in hand. You can't have one weak and one strong.
I know a lot of people want to know anyone running for office in the Republican Party, where they are at with support for President Trump. How would you describe your support level for President Trump?
Oh, I support the president. I think he's a very well. He's let me just say he's an outspoken individual, and there's many people that love him, that don't love him, but he's our president, and I support him, and I think he has the country's interest at heart, and I wish that all of us as Americans. I've been to 2 Trump rallies sponsored by the Freedom Movement, one in Joliet and one in McHenry, and I often remark to myself, it's great that we're here doing this, but I would hope that it's more of a national patriotic thing to support your president than it would be a merely partisan thing. I wish that all of us, Democrats and Republicans alike, would rally around our president, because he is the center of focus of unity in the nation. Our leader, our president, we unite behind the man.
Well, we're going to see that tonight, of course, in the State of the Union address.
Oh, yes.
A lot of other things going on nationally. We had the mess of the Iowa caucuses last night. We have this impeachment fiasco that is fizzling out to a halt. But when all the chips and are down and things are settled, listeners and voters are going to go to the polls on March 17th. That's when the primary is. And those in the 14th District are going to choose between you and the other candidates for the Republican nomination. So I'll ask you to speak to those listeners now. The voters in the Republican primary in the 14th District, what sets you apart from your opponents, and why should they vote for Anthony Catella in the 14th Congressional District on March 17th?
Well, March 17th is a special day for me, because that was the day I graduated military police school, Army basic training and military police school at Fort McClellan, Alabama. And it'll be 25 years ago to the day, on Election Day, primary day of this year. And I think that that's pretty significant. So hopefully maybe I can have another special March 17th this year, 25 years later, by winning the primary. And I think I can win. All of my fellow Republican candidates are great people. But you asked me why I would be the one.
Yes, why should they vote for you versus the other? Because they have to choose,
yes,
right? They can't.
Choice.
It's not like the caucuses where they can pick a first and second and third and
exactly.
Caucus. They have one circle to fill in on the ballot. Why should they vote for Anthony Catella?
I believe the voters should vote for me because of all the candidates, and they're good people with legislative and business experience. But I am the only one of the candidates to have served in the military, to have been a soldier, and also to have answered the call to the priesthood. I served as a priest for a period of time. The priesthood, Christian ministry, and military service, I humbly and sincerely submit, are the 2 highest callings that anyone could hear and answer, and I have answered both. And I say this in sincerity and in humility. And I believe that's why I could be a good congressman. And if I could be in Congress, by golly, I will have achieved 3 goals in life: to have served in the military, to have served as a minister of the Lord, and to have served as a public servant. And that would be great.
Anthony Catella, is there anything else you'd like to add to voters in the 14th District and listeners throughout the state of Illinois before we say goodbye?
Well, by golly, how many minutes?
We got about a minute left.
A minute. Okay. Well, then I'll give the last paragraph of my 2-minute talk from another occasion.
Okay.
My fellow citizens, I believe in the ideals of faith and freedom. These ideals have made us the greatest nation in history. Faith means that we believe in divine providence, and freedom means that this self-same divinity has endowed us with the inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Providence has blessed us with the abilities of intellect and will to govern ourselves with reason and justice. The ideals of faith and freedom are the solid foundation upon which this nation stands. They have made us, the United States of America, one nation under God. And as long as we remain true to our sacred heritage, we shall endure as a nation. And with God's blessings, we can fulfill the Gettysburg prayer of Abraham Lincoln, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
Little Gettysburg Address action there. I like it.
And that was 2 minutes.
Yes.
I mean, the Gettysburg Address itself by Lincoln was 2 minutes. But after the orator spoke for 2 hours.
Yes, it was probably the greatest speech a president gave as president ever. Anthony Catella, and of course, Illinois' own Abraham Lincoln.
That's
Anthony Catella, best of luck on the campaign trail, and thanks for coming on to the Michael Koolidge Show.
Well, thanks for having me, Michael.
We'll be right back.